Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're a first time viewer, thank you for dropping by my channel. I hope you find today's video useful, and if you're an already existing subscriber, thank you for considering subscribing to this channel. I hope today's video would enlighten you better. So today's video will be drafting a basic bodice block. If you are new to the channel, if you've not seen the previous video where we discussed how to take bodice measurements, kindly do so by checking the previous video so you will know how to take accurate body measurement. Today I'll be drafting a basic bodice without a shoulder dart or a bust dart with my body size. So we'll go right ahead. This is a plain paper. We'll be drafting the front bodice block. We'll be starting off with our shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 14 inches, my bust measurement is 35 inches, my waist measurement is 28 inches, and my hip measurement is 36 inches. So on your plain sheet of paper, you would take from the margin here. This will be our center front, and it is usually on fold depending on styles, but for the basic bodice block, this is on fold. We'll be using here as our center front. From this center front now, you're going to measure your shoulder. Our shoulder is 14 inches, and from 14 inches, you're going to divide 14 inches into 2, which is 7. 14 divided by 2 is going to give us 7 inches. So we'll place that 7 inches here. And we'll mark here 7 inches. Now, if you watched our previous video, you would know how to take your bust point measurement. My bust point measurement now is 10.5 inches. I'll mark it. These measurements I'm taking are known as the vertical measurements. Next is our waist measurement. Waist length is 17 inches from the shoulder. From our shoulder, 17 inches. And then the hip is usually 7 to 9 inches, so let's say 24 inches here. This is our hip length. So the next thing now, we'll be taking our basic neckline measurement. Basic neckline is 3 inches from the center front. 3 inches from the center front. This is our center front. 3 inches into, this is our shoulder. 7 inches from the center front. The depth of the neckline is also 3 inches, 3 by 3 inches for a basic neckline. Use your ruler and connect it. You square this up, you square this up. So you connect from the depth to the wideness of the neckline for your basic neck curve. If you have this, you can also use this to get your curve, your neck curve, right? You can use this to get your neck curve. Or if you can use your free hand, you use your free hand. Go ahead and use your free hand. Next, from this neck width, the wideness of the neck, you will be connecting to the shoulder. But if you watch our previous video, you will know that your shoulder slope is usually slant. Your shoulder is not straight on your body. So you come down from the tip of your paper, come down 1 inch. So from the neck wideness, you're going to connect to your shoulder slope like this with a straight ruler. Connect. Now, remember our shoulder wideness is 7 inches. You're going to rule the 7 inches straight down. Remember our bust depth, bust point, 10.5 inches. Rule a straight line. Next, our waist length, that's our 17 inches. You rule a straight line this way. Next, our hip line, you rule a straight line this way. For our armhole depth, where your armpit is, you go up your bust point 2 inches depending on size. This is our bust point. I'll be labeling it bust point, waist line. This is hip line. So you connect from this point now to get your armpit. Straight line. This is like a very simple method. Now, next thing is to get your waist start. To get your waist start, the The essence is to give shape to an outfit by removing excess fabric. You are going to divide your bust point measurement, your nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. Mine is 8.5, so I'll get 4.25. But I'll just be measuring 4.25 here. Remember how we took measurement in our previous video? 4.25 is here. So I'm going to be measuring it here, from here up to the bust point measurement, 4.25 here. And we'll be measuring it all the way. I'll be rolling with a straight line. Be connecting the straight lines together. Now, to get your waist dart is usually 1 inch. So you take ½ inch on both sides of this, your center line. This is half of an inch. Remember in our previous video, this is half of an inch. So half an inch on both sides of on the waist length. Half of an inch. Total of, make sure it's a total of 1 inch. Half of an inch, half of an inch here. Then you come down your waist length to get the length of your dart. Your dart is not going to get to your waist, your hip length. It's going to go down 4 inches from your waistline. So from 4 inches on your waistline, you connect to this half of an inch here, because the dart is usually on the waist. On a more complicated bodice, you have shoulder dart, bust dart, that we'll be considering in our next tutorial. Then you don't want your dart to get to your bust point. You're going to come down 1 inch from your bust point, or half of an inch on your bust point, but I'll be using 1 inch, and you connect also to the waist dart, to the ½ inch on your waist dart. This right here is going to be our waist dart. Next, now we're going to be taking our body measurement. Remember I said my bust was 35 in the beginning of this tutorial. 35 now is, we're going to divide that 35 by 4 inches. By 4 rather. Meaning, since here is unfold, one side is going to take half of my body measurement, and then the back is going to take the other half of my body measurement. So now 35 divided by 4 is 8 3/4 rather. So I'll be placing that 8 3/4 on my bust line, and I'll take the measurement here. Now my waist measurement is 28. 28 divided by 4 is 7. I'll be placing 7 on the center front of my pattern, and I'll be marking my 7 inches. My hip measurement is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. I'll be marking that 9 inches on my hip line, and that is it. So I'll be connecting from my waist to my hip with a slight curve, because my waist and my hip is not straight line. I'll be in a slight curve, and then from my waist to my bust point, I will just take a straight ruler and connect it up to my armhole curve, up to my armhole length, like this. It's that simple. Now on my shoulder slope, on my armhole line, I'll be getting from my slope, my shoulder slope, to the armhole depth. This is 7.5. I'll be dividing it into 2. That point I will mark it here. This is 3 3/4. From this midpoint here, I will go in half of an inch measurement, half of an inch. And so I'll use a curve. You can do this with your free hand actually. So I'll connect like this, and then I'll use a curve to connect like this. But if you cannot do that, you can also use your curve ruler to just do so. So you can just connect like this, and come down, and you connect from here to this point. You connect like this. So, okay, it's better to actually use your curve. So this is our armhole curve now. So now, remember we had a dart intake of 1 inch on our waistline. We're going to add this back here into our waistline measurement, so we're not short of measurement. This is 1 inch. Remember our waist dart here was 1 inch, as you can see, 1 inch. We're going to add it back here, and then we'll connect to our armhole curve with a straight ruler, and then we'll connect this back to our hip length with a curve ruler. Make it sit right into your curve. So when you're cutting, this is where you'll be cutting. This is the line you'll be cutting along. And with that, guys, we have come to the first part of this tutorial, which is the front bodice block. This is the front block. Remember, our neckline for a basic bodice is 3 by 3 inches, meaning 3 inches wideness and 3 inches length. Our shoulder is divided by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7 inches. So next thing we'll be doing is our back bodice block. So next, when cutting on your fabric, you're going to be adding half of an inch or 1 inch sewing allowance, preferably 1 inch sewing allowance on all the edges. 1 inch round the hip line, 1 inch round, and you connect with a curve ruler, straight ruler, the appropriate places. Your armhole, you're going to connect half of an inch round, half of an inch measurement, half of an inch, half of an inch. When you're cutting, half of an inch. You connect also with your curve ruler. On your shoulder slope, you add half of an inch measurement, half of an inch measurement. You connect neckline as well, and that is all for your front pattern. To begin our back bodice pattern, we are going to be coming from the edge of our paper. Remember, in the center front it does unfold. The back has a zip, so we'll be coming in from the edge of our paper. We're coming in for the zip allowance 1 inch from top to bottom. You connect this with a straight ruler. So this here is our zip allowance. Here now, this line now is where our back measurement will be starting from. So now, remember our shoulder 14 inches, our neck width, wideness is 3 inches, the same as the front, but for the back neck depth is 1 inch, because the back neck, for the basic bodice block, 1 inch. And then you use your curve for your neckline. Next thing is to get our shoulder wideness width, which is 14 divided by 2, which is 7 inches here. Remember our bust points like in the front, although we'll not be using it much here because the bust is only in the front. Remember, we measured 10.5 inches, waistline 17 inches, hip line 24 inches. Remember, this is you rule your vertical line, your vertical measurement. We're going to rule a straight line. This is for the bust point. Rule a straight line here. This is for the waist. Rule a straight line here. This is for the hip, waist length, hip. This is the bust point. Remember, in our front pattern, we came up this bust point measurement 2 inches. This is where your armhole length is going to stop. So, come down and you roll your straight line this way. Unlike the front pattern, we're not going to be getting a curve in the armhole. What we're going to do is to come down the shoulders by 1 inch of shoulder slope. You connect your shoulder slant to your neck width, and then now you'll just be connecting from your shoulder slant to your armhole. But we'll first of all get our bust measurement. So now remember, our bust divided by 4, our bust is 35 divided by 4 width and 3/4. So we'll measure it here, or you can use your calculator if you're not sure. Waist was 28 divided by 4, 7 inches. Hip was 36 divided by 4, 9 inches here. So like we did for the front, we are connecting from the waist to the armhole, straight line, making sure your measurement touches your bust point measurement. And then we'll be using a curve ruler to connect from the waistline to the hip measurement. This is our back for this. So now we'll be connecting from our shoulder slant to here, like I said earlier, with a curve ruler. You can freehand it if you know how to do that. Now for the dart measurement, always that, like we did earlier, we're marking 4¼ here on the waistline, 4¼ here on the bust line, 4¼ here on the hip line. Use a straight ruler, connect these points together into a straight line. Now, unlike our front measurement, the back waist dart usually goes up about 2 inches from the bust point measurement. That's why we're using this bust point measurement. So you connect up here. Then remember, your waist dart is 1 inch. You take ½ inch on both sides, half from the center line, half on one side, half on the other side, and then you connect with a ruler. This is our bust, the beginning of our back dart, our back waist dart. Connect here. Remember, we go 4 inches from the waistline. That's the length of our waist dart. And you connect with a straight ruler. Connect with a straight ruler. Now, the next thing we're going to be doing is to get the shaping and the zip allowance for our back bodice, because the back bodice is not straight. The human back is not straight. It has this shaping inside. So we'll be going in on the waistline of the back at the center back. This is the side back. This is the center back. We'll be going in ½ an inch. ½ an inch. And we'll be connecting this measurement to the top of our bodice block. To the top here. And we'll be connecting it to the hip line here. This stops at the hip line, this stops at the top of the measurement. This is our center back, this is our side back, this is our zip allowance. This is our zip allowance. Now, when you're cutting, you're going to be cutting along the shaping now. The shaping at the back, you're not going to be cutting straight. And when you're marking out your allowance, you're going to be marking ½ an inch round, ½ an inch round the new line, ½ an inch round on the shoulder slant, ½ an inch on the armhole slant, ½ an inch, ½ an inch. Before that, you're also going to remember to add your shaping, your waist shaping back. Our 1 inch we took earlier, we're going to add it on the side. We'll connect it to our armhole length like we did for the front, and then we'll use a curved ruler to connect from the shaping to our hip line now. So this is where we're going to be cutting our new back bodice from. When you're taking your measurements, when you're cutting your fabric, remember you're going to be adding 1 inch round the measurement. 1 inch round. For the sides, 1 inch. For the armhole curve, ½ inch. For the center back, 1 inch. For your zip allowance, 1 inch, not ½ inch, 1 inch. 1 inch on the center back, 1 inch on the side back, ½ an inch on the other side. For the front block, 1 inch on the sides, ½ an inch on other sides. Remember, here is going to be cut on fold. Thank you guys for watching. We have come to the end of our tutorial for today, and if you found this useful, kindly click on the subscribe button and turn on the post notification to be notified whenever we drop a new video. See you guys next week. Bye bye.